Realtree's Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Cabela's, Easton Arrows, Frigid Forage, Fuse, Grizzly Coolers, Hoyt, Hoyman Tree Saws, Muddy Outdoors, and Realtree.
Well, welcome back to Midwest Whitetail. It is October 26th, and Jared and I are back in a tree on the public land. We were actually on our way home from working today and decided to get out for a quick hunt. I've never sat in this spot before. Basically, we identified on the map a big creek bottom that's going to be right on the edge of a cornfield to the south. So basically what our idea was, we were just going to walk in until we found a good creek crossing, and we found a good pinch right here, a couple different types of sign, and we're just hoping to catch these deer funneling out to the corn tonight. I know we've got really cold temps coming overnight. It's supposed to have a 20-degree drop for tomorrow, so hopefully these deer get up on their feet at this front coming through. Like I said, no idea what to expect, new spot, but got about another hour and a half here, so we're gonna sit back and see what happens.
Shot, he's gonna get downwind, so as soon as you can shoot him, do it. Can you shoot him there? Josh, can you shoot him there? I don't know, see what he does, but are you comfortable with that range? You probably smell the ground set. He turns, get ready. Well, we just did a rattling sequence and had a little buck come downwind of us, and I looked up the ridge and a really nice deer came in, dumped in the creek, and I got my 34-yard pin on him. He caught a ground scent or something and popped right up this ridge again, and Jared said he was on him, and I took the shot, and we can't tell in the video what the deal is. He ducks between this like hanging tree over the creek. Got a deer behind us. There's a deer behind us. Another buck. It's ridiculous. Alright, well, it's about 10 o'clock here, and we're about 5 hours after the shot. Just kind of bring you guys up to speed and what's been going on. After the last interview in the tree, I got down, went to the side of the shot, and
I actually found my arrow and it was covered in blood, so I got a complete pass through. So right away, looked to see if we could find any blood, and we were able to find a couple specks here and there. So we reviewed the footage and just trying to get an idea of where we hit this deer. And unfortunately, the deer drops perfectly and matches up right with a big tree that's crossing the creek. So we have no idea where we hit this deer. So the positives here is that we got the arrow, but we can also hear a big smack. So we know that it made contact in that body cavity.
Yeah, it's definitely a cavity shot. It's not like a shoulder shot or something like that. I mean, it kind of has that hollow sound to it, where it's for sure cavity. And the other thing too, from smelling the arrow, there's no odor to it, so it's not a paunch shot or anything like that. So we're hoping it's forward of that, but that branch unfortunately covers so much of that deer's body that it's tough to tell. We can see the arrow in certain frames, but it disappears probably within a foot of when it's about to make impact.
So, I mean, we've given this deer, it's going to be about 5.5 hours by the time Troy gets here. And one of the reasons we're going to track it tonight, even though we're not for sure, is when we shot this deer, it was barely any wind at all. But now we're up to 20-25 mile an hour wind. And with a spotty blood trail like we've got, it could be very easily that these leaves are going to blow over. So we've kind of all came to the consensus that if we do run into any sort of bed, we're going to back out and give it until the morning. But we feel like we need to go do our due diligence now just because we think it could be a lethal hit. And, I mean, the last thing from when I saw him is his tail was tucked. So that's another indicator that he wasn't feeling too good. So obviously we're going to find out when we take up the blood trail. But hopefully we can find him tonight. And we're going to wait for Troy to get here and take up that trail.
All right, well, we're about 40 yards into this blood trail, and I have to say I'm kind of surprised, but we're following pretty good blood. As we get going further, it seems to be opening up in different spots, and it's on both sides, so it looks like he's bleeding out of both sides of his body. I know we have at least another 60 yards to go up to that ridge where I last saw him, but it's just giving me a little bit more hope as to where we hit the deer. I mean, we're going to keep following it, and, the main thing right now is we're taking our time. I mean, there's no need to rush, and luckily, even though it's really windy, it seems to be holding off right here on the ground, but, it's just really minuscule in the sense that it could be covered really easy. So that's kind of what our game plan is, but we're following it, and we can see it ahead, so we're going to keep going. Yep. Right there. Well, it's about 12:30 here, and we're back to the truck. So unfortunately, that means we didn't find the buck tonight. Went back to the side of the shot, and we were following the blood, and it started opening up pretty good. And unfortunately, as we started following a little bit further, blood got a little bit smaller, a little bit farther apart. We ran into a spot that it actually looked like it was starting to coagulate a little bit, which to us shows that wound is starting to maybe close up. At this point, we're starting to think maybe single lung. A couple things that are surprising to us or just interesting is we didn't run into any beds. And basically, with the lack of blood that we were following, it was hands and knees. We just decided that there wasn't any more use tonight anyway to continue pushing on. I know my plan is first light. As soon as it's bright enough to walk in there, I'm going to go in there, just that last spot where the blood was. So I don't know. It's irritating. It's frustrating. Doesn't feel great, but I think up until this point we've done what we should do. So
try it again in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sick feeling. I mean, I never wanted to be in this position, so we're still really not sure on what the hit was. I mean, just got to think it's something lethal with the amount of blood that we were finding. And just to where he was going, I mean, it made sense. It just started getting really, really thick. So hopefully we can come in the morning and he's not laying too far from there. I mean, it is thick. It would be hard. We could easily have walked by him. So I guess we'll see. I'll be back at it in the morning.